Climbers seem to always be dealing with some sort of injury, and I'm no exception. If you've seen my last video, then you'd know that I sprained my ankle, and if you didn't, you should go back and watch that video. To combat the lack of climbing, I increased both my weightlifting and my hangboarding in my training, and boy, was it effective. On my first proper day back in the climbing gym, I was able to send multiple V4s and V5s, which were previously my upper limit. But before I get into that day of climbing, let's look at my actual training. Because my injury was in my foot, there were 4 major changes I had to make to my training. First, no climbing, obviously. Second, no leg days, again, obviously. Third, no edge pickups, as I couldn't put pressure on my foot. And fourth, I had to increase the volume of everything else I did in order to get the most out of this training. This led me to forming an 8-day or 4-day split, depending on how you look at it. I would start off with a pull day in the gym, followed by a hangboarding session the next day, and then a push day in the gym, followed by a hangboarding session again, and then a second variation of my pull day in the gym, and then another hangboarding session, and then a second variation of my push day in the gym, followed by another hangboarding session. I would take a rest day if I felt that at any point I had built up too much fatigue to get anything out of that training session that day. But to be honest, I don't think I took a single rest day over this entire mini training period. My first pull day consisted of 3 sets of pull-ups in the 1 to 3 rep range, focusing on my strength. This was followed by 3 sets of T-bar rows in the 6 to 8 rep range, and then finished off with 3 sets of dumbbell curls, also in the 6 to 8 rep range. The second pull day would be similar, but focus more on my power endurance. I would again do another 3 sets of pull-ups, but this time in the 6 to 8 rep range. After that, I would move to a machine high row. I would do 3 sets of that, also in the 6 to 8 rep range, and then again finish off with cable curls, 3 sets in the 6 to 8 rep range. At the end of my last training period, my pull-up to rep max was body weight plus 70 pounds. After my most recent testing, this went up to my body weight plus 90 pounds. In my opinion, that's some pretty good results for only about 3 weeks of training. Now for my push day. For my first push day, I would start off with the bench press. I would do 3 sets of low reps focusing on my strength. This was followed up by 3 sets of a machine high press in the 6 to 8 rep range, then followed by 3 sets of dumbbell lateral raises, also in the 6 to 8 rep range, and finished off with tricep pushdowns, 3 sets, but in the 8 to 10 rep range. For the second variation of my push day, I started with incline dumbbell press. I did 3 sets in the 6 to 8 rep range. This was then followed by 3 sets of a machine shoulder press, also in the 6 to 8 rep range. After that, I would do 3 sets of cable lateral raises in the 8 to 10 rep range, and then finish off the weightlifting session with overhead tricep pushdowns, 3 sets in the 8 to 10 rep range as well. Now the part that almost every climber loves to geek out about, my finger training. Throughout this whole period, there's one thing that I did every single day, in fact, twice a day, and I'm sure most of you already know what I'm talking about. The Abrahangs, also known as no hangs, where you load your fingers with sub-maximal weights twice a day, at least 6 hours apart. Throughout this whole period, I did this every single day, twice a day, with a minimum of 6 hours in between each session. And let me tell you, I can feel the difference. Particularly in my left hand, I felt the most difference as I had previously sprained my lumbrical. Things like 3-finger drag and 2-finger pockets now feel stronger and better than ever. Now in my hangboarding session days, the only thing I was able to do were max hangs. This time, instead of doing 5-second max hangs, I upped it to 7 seconds as I felt 5 seconds wasn't long enough to see any on-the-wall benefit. My hangboarding sessions in the first half and the second half of this training period were slightly different, as halfway through I got a home hangboard. For the first half of my training, I used the hangboard at my gym and added weight, doing 2-arm max hangs. For the second half, I would do 1-arm hangs as I didn't have access to many weights, but I did have resistance bands to help take the load off. That was the only difference between the 2 halves of the training period, 1-arm versus 2-arm. Each individual session consisted of a warm-up, followed by 4 sets of a 4-finger grip type, 3 sets of a 3-finger drag, and then 2 sets using pockets. At the beginning of this training period, I tested my 7-second max hang and was able to do it with an additional 70 pounds loaded. With my most recent test, I got that up to 100. This is some pretty good improvement, as now my 5-second and my 7-second max hangs are equal. So, overall, I had some pretty good body strength and finger strength gains. But how did this apply to my on-the-wall climbing? Well, let's take a look at my first proper session back in the climbing gym. To start off with the higher grades, there were 2 V6s that I could get about halfway through, and this is one of them. Normally, I wouldn't be able to start a V6 at all at this gym, but to actually be able to do some of the moves, that's pretty good, and I'm very happy with that. Now this was a V5 that I was able to do, and it suited me very well. It was a bunch of big, powerful moves with not a lot of feet. I definitely had much more power to be able to do these moves than before, and I don't know if before this period I would have successfully done this climb. If anything, it would have taken me multiple sessions. Now this V5 is a little weird. The feet on the right side of the wall there had different colored tape, but there was no climb with that colored tape on the other side, so I just assumed they were in. I don't know if they were the feet or not, and it didn't really feel like a V5, but it was probably V4 or V3. And either way, as a slab climb, which is something I hate, I'm still happy with getting. If you like this video and you want to see how I do on my first outdoor bouldering session back after the injury, you should make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss that and all the other future videos that I make about my training and climbing. And if you made it all the way to the end, thank you very much for watching. See you next time.